final count will be completed and registered today. It has confirmed that 589 structures were destroyed in the blaze that broke out on Friday. Spokesperson Charlotte Powell is calling for donations of non-perishable foods, personal hygiene items and baby toiletries and formula.
The city's solid waste department will remove fire debris from the fire site today. The water and sanitation counterparts are working to restore damaged infrastructure. A reminder that donation drop-off points are still active on a 24-hour basis at the following fire stations: Goodwood, Roland Street, Lakeside, Constantia, Houtbay, Strand, Wynberg and Milnerton.
Meanwhile, the Wimmershoek fire near Franschhoek remains active following multiple flare-ups that were contained yesterday after hot temperatures and windy conditions fanned flames. Cape Winelands District Municipality spokesperson Aneska yesterday after hot temperatures and windy conditions fanned flames. Cape Winelands District Municipality spokesperson Aneska Ruet says no injuries or property damage have been reported, while the SPCA remains on standby for animals.
Monitoring and mopping up operations continue in areas where the fire has been contained. Fireline conditions will be assessed, after which actions for the next operational period will be determined.
At the same time, firefighting efforts are continuing in Gansbaai, with landowners in Ganendal and Greyton lending a hand in dousing flames of the Stanford fire. The Independent Examinations Board is set to release the National Senior Certificate results of the Matric class of 2025 at this hour. This follows an announcement earlier today that the Matric pass rate was recorded at 98.31%, a slight decrease from the class of 2024. The IEB is an independent assessment body that offers exams for IEB registered schools in line with the curriculum standards set by the Basic Education Department. More than 16,000 full-time candidates wrote the IEB NSC examinations in October and November. At the same time, Basic Education Minister Siviwe Kwagube has heaped praise on the country's top matric achievers. Speaking in Johannesburg earlier today at the National Senior Certificate Top Achievers Breakfast and Awards Ceremony, she said true excellence is not just about top academic results, but about perseverance. 40 learners from various schools in the country were being honoured today. Relebogile Mabotja has more.
Basic Education Minister Siviwe Kwagube congratulated the group of matriculants for their hard work, saying they are the pride of the nation. She added their achievements are as a result of hard work and perseverance. Kwagube referred to Greek mythology to describe their efforts and sacrifice.
A man that was condemned by Zeus to push a very heavy boulder up a steep hill. Each time he reached the top, the boulder would roll back down again and it would have to begin all over again. And for many years, I believe the story has perhaps been misunderstood. It's often been told as a story of tragedy, a tale of endless suffering and futility.
More than 900,000 grade 12 candidates sat to write the National Senior Certificate exams. Minister Kwagube will announce the official results of the class of 2025 final exams later today. Relebogile Mabotja, Eyewitness News.
The Democratic Alliance says International Relations and Cooperation Minister Ronald Lamola's defense of hosting the BRICS military exercise shows a deep ineptitude of foreign affairs. The party condemned Lamola for his public defense of hosting sanctioned Iranian and Russian naval vessels during the BRICS exercise at the Simonstown Naval Base in Cape Town. The Navy exercise takes place as South Africa and U.S. tensions continue over the country's close ties to America's main adversaries. China will lead the Will for Peace 2026 Navy drill, which runs from the 9th to the 16th of this month. DA International Relations spokesperson Ryan Smith says as the civilian authority, Lamola is responsible for ensuring the country's international engagements align with the Constitution and the national interest.
Minister Lamola's utterances demonstrated deep ineptitude for foreign affairs from South Africa's chief diplomat, who frequently uses undiplomatic language, clings desperately to outdated 1960s ANC ideology, and cares more about his party political dogma than the national interest.
Rise Mzansi leader Songezo Zibi has hit back at billionaire Elon Musk's renewed criticism of South Africa's telecommunications laws. Musk again recently claimed that race rules are blocking the internet service provider owned by the businessman's SpaceX from operating in the country. Last year, Communications Minister Solly Malatsi came under fire for his policy directive to regulator ICASA to allow companies like Starlink to operate without meeting certain BEE requirements. Bypassing the rules would mean companies need to invest in equity equivalence programs as opposed to selling part of the business to a local black investor in accordance with BBEE laws. ZB has taken exception to Musk's latest comments about South Africa's domestic laws.
That person cannot want to invest in South Africa and claim himself to be similar to other investors who want to invest in South Africa. And because money is involved, we must then accept whatever kind of person wants to invest here. We've got to have principles, we've got to have standards, and we must draw the line at our constitutional order. The second reason I don't think we must have Starlink here is that Elon Musk has used his platforms to spread lies, misinformation and disinformation, not only about South Africa, but to cause division in other parts of the world.
And US President Donald Trump has threatened to take Greenland one way or another. Trump says this move is critical for US national security, given increased Russian and Chinese military activity in the Arctic. He's also warned that Russia and China would take over the territory if Washington didn't act. His comments come hours after the Danish Prime Minister, Mette Frederiksen, warned that Denmark is at a fateful moment where what is at stake is bigger than what many can see. She says the Americans are turning their backs on the Western alliance by threatening the NATO cooperation. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is expected to hold talks with Denmark about Greenland next week. Gold's trading at $4,592.33 an ounce. The rand's at 16.40 to the dollar, at 22.09 to the pound, at 19.17 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at exactly $63 a barrel.
In the traffic, there's bumper-to-bumper traffic on Main Reef Road. This is from Longdale to Palshoop, just heading towards China Mall. And you can look out for those faulty traffic lights in Edenvale, at Modderfontein and Van Riebeek.
I'll look at your weather. Partly cloudy skies in Gauteng this afternoon with isolated showers and thunder showers expected. Temperatures have peaked at highs between 26 and 28 degrees. The top story in Eyewitness News this hour. The Western Cape Disaster Risk Management Department says according to its latest count, 2,456 people have been affected by the Denouan fire.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Relebogile Mabotja.
Live, streaming countrywide
On the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Yeah, man, how you doing? You good? I know you like that. I know you like that. How long you been back, man? I see the girls.
Woo! Ayo! 2026. Earring. Yes. Woo! Welcome, 7:02 afternoons at 10 minutes after 1 o'clock with me, Relebogile Mabotja, on this Monday, the 12th of January. I have to be honest, I'm so happy to be back with you guys. It's almost like when besties have not spoken in 3 weeks, and we speak every day. Now I need the tea. I need the gossip. I need the updates of what's been happening. I really, really hope you all had a beautiful festive season break. I hope you got to rest. Those of you that were working, I hope you made your money. Those of you that did none of the above, at least can you have been tired for serious things like dancing for long in your heels and maybe having a little bit too much wine. But I really missed you guys. I have to be honest. I was kind of dreading, and I go through this every single time where I'm like, do I still know how to do radio? I'm so nervous. And I'm glad I sort of got soft launched back into work on Saturday when I was emceeing a 50th. But I have missed all of you so much. So much has happened that I've wanted to talk to you about. The fact that the Venezuelan oil is not feasible. The fact that Ubaba there in the US, like there are so many things that we can catch up on, and I'm looking forward to chatting to all of you. Thank you so much to Jane and the team that stood in while we got to spend time with our families and rest. We really, really appreciate the team that is able to do so. I'm together with Peter as technical producer, and Kazimla, or Kaz as we call him, is our content producer for today. So for those of you that get in touch, though, that is the person that you will be talking to. People are like, "Your Bafana lost and they're back." Oh, guys, there's so many things to catch up on, and it's up to you. Feel free. If you feel like we want to just talk about things we need to catch up on, don't give us a juicy talker. Save it for tomorrow. We can also do that. All right. What we have coming up on the show, movies and what to stream with Adelaide Moyeng, who will join us for that, founder of Movies and Stuff. Let me know what you guys watched over the festive season. Were you binge watching things? Tell me what you caught up on. What do you say we must all watch, and what do you say do not even bother watching this at all? The travel feature, we are talking spring skiing over Easter with Gabby Brondani. And then our parenting and parents a feature in the second hour of the show. We're talking after the results, setting the future course. As we know, our matriculants are waiting patiently for their results. We'll be joined by Pranita Jadio, who's the head of SACAP's Durban campus, highlights alternative pathways such as higher certificate programs and things like gap years as well, that we will be chatting about. And then we have the Naked Scientist, as we do on a Monday, so you can get your questions in early. 011 883 0702 in the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
702 Afternoons
With Relebogile Mabotja
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
So, I had a very, very, very dramatic festive season. And I know there are listeners, because you've told me yourselves that sometimes you think I'm lying when I share stories. The number of things that happened to me over this festive season, and part of the reason I was anxious about coming back is because it didn't feel restful. So there was, let me see, my laptop got stolen. I traveled to Cape Town with my mom and son. That was amazing. Then we traveled to Durban. The accommodation was not accommodating. The pictures were not picturing like the accommodation. So we had some stranded AM hours in KZN with a small child. They broke into the house over the festive season. Thank goodness we have a dog, because nothing was taken and we weren't home. Amen. Hallelujah for that. What else happened? Oh, burst geyser. That also happened. And sometimes if you've had a burst geyser, you know that the water sprays on electrical wires. So there was a period where we had no power and no water. But let me tell you what did happen. A lot of bonding time with my son. We probably watched Moana 7 times, 1 and 2. I did not get an opportunity to catch up on any adult content because really it was important to just bond with my son. I went to the sea. I got my vitamin C. I got my vitamin D, lots of sun. I think I'm 2 shades dark. Peter, am I 2 shades darker? Or do I look? I'm not. I try to spend as much time as possible. Got to visit my sister in Cape Town. And outside of all of the crazy mishaps that happened, got to bond with family, man. Like, it is such a gift to be able to have another Christmas where both your parents and your siblings and your close friends and family are all still alive. So outside of the drama, it was a good one. And I really hope each and every one of you take the opportunity to also share with me what it is. What were your highs and lows of the festive season? I know some of you have not even taken a break yet. It might still be coming, and maybe that's better for you because crowded spaces and the peak season can be tricky to travel in or even rest in. But here's what we are going to be talking about after my little update there. I want to find out from all of you, what is a scam that's become so normal that we don't even think it's a scam? It is something that for you, you feel like, but this is a scam. Even though we all do it, even though we all pay for it, what is that thing that for you is a scam? So I'll give you some examples. Shout out to Timmy Boy 388 because I thought this was such a brilliant question to ask. Jordan says paying for water is a scam. And I had to say to myself, it is a scam. Is this earth not 70% water? And don't get me started on, but it's not all drinkable and blah, blah, blah. But paying for water, I second, is a scam. Why are we paying for water? Like, in general, why do we pay for water? Ogam Dunge on my TikTok live says car insurance is a scam, and to me says paying for electricity is a scam. D Unit says paying for ads to go away is a scam. So like if you're going to be watching YouTube, you'll get ads, but you need to now pay if you don't want to see the ads. So I second that. Banks asking you why you want your own money is a scam. Peter, let's be honest with one another. When you say, I want to withdraw whatever, and now they say, why do you want to withdraw? It's my money. It's my money. Another person says paying for food is a scam. I have to be honest, guys. The prices right now, it feels so scammy. And I can't tell, should we quit potatoes and eggs? Like, which are the items that are getting extremely expensive? Yonala says buying drinking water is a scam when we pay so much for water and sanitation. So the reason I support all of this, I'm going to be honest. In my home, we buy drinking water because at some point the water coming out the taps was not, it had a funny color. Then we filtered and we're like, let's just buy water in the bulk, what. So paying for water, definitely. A couple more coming through. Bryden says tax is a scam. Guys, Bryden on Facebook says tax is a scam. The number of ways I want to say I feel like in South Africa, paying for tax is a scam. And I'm going to make a mental note and remember to share with you. There's a gentleman who was speaking to say, when you're in certain parts of like the UAE, there is no, you're not taxed, right? And of course, when now you have to do certain things, you're going to pay a lot of money for it, but you get to decide how you want to spend your money. Not somebody taking 25% or 13% or 45%, because he says what it means is you work for 5-6 months of the year, you're working for free. So if somebody's taking 40% tax or 25% tax from you, you are working for free. Do you know that? It all goes to SARS. So I absolutely support that one. Paying for one chicken wing sold as 2, a drummet and a wing. That is a scam. Why? I know it's fast food places that do this the most. You guys break the wing in 2 and then you count it as 2 wings. It is not 2 wings. Mapenego says paying more for an item you are buying because you are swiping your card from a spaza shop is a scam. Christmas is a scam is another one. Airtime expiring is a scam. I support you there. Airtime and data expiring is a scam because why must it expire? Why must it expire? We're going to have to bring up these things with Wendy Nola when we're together on Thursday. Somebody says, welcome back, Sana. We have missed you so much. I've missed you guys so much. Like, I enjoyed the break, but I missed you. There were so many things. I'm like, I need to talk to the listeners about this one. Paying for data and to be told no network coverage or there's a network problem. I hate that one. Archibald on Facebook says TV license. Paying for a TV license is a scam. So, I saw that there's some kind of proposal that TV licenses might be scrapped. However, don't get excited. They're going to structure it in us paying in a different way, and apparently it might cost us all more money. So I'm not sure what it is, and I'll have to just get an expert in. But there is something else that they're trying to do to find a way to have the SABC back to doing what it does. Sia on TikTok says Umjolo nje is a scam. Let's ask our parents to match us, guys. You guys are only telling your parents to match you now. Your parents must match you. Your parents must match you. Mra says most churches are a scam. Ronnie says any service at a government department is a scam. Daniel J says Relebogile, all forms of black tax are a scam. Look, I'm not sure how I feel about that one, considering the history as a country, but I hear you. We've got some voice notes on 072 702 1702.
Relebogile. The biggest scam we have in South Africa, particularly in Joburg, is paying for water and electricity. Electricity is so expensive, and we're not even getting the very services. Right now in my area, we haven't had water for about 5 days, but the bill will come back, saying something else. So that's the biggest scam, and we allow it to happen as residents.
Relebogile. Welcome back. Hey, our topic in very scam. Right now, for me, Capitec data. It's a scam. It's a scam, Sham. You'll buy 1 gig for 25 rand. Yes, it's cheap, but that 1 gig, it will not last you 6 hours. 1 gig, and sometimes you'll buy 100 megabyte. It's 3 rand. Yes, it's cheap, but it will not last you 30 minutes. Capitec data. Scam, sham.
It's the first time I'm hearing about Capitec data. I didn't even know. Does Capitec have a network? So it's probably similar to, like, I know FNB has a net. I didn't even know. I didn't know Capitec has. Yo, guys, the way the economy is going, everybody has to offer everything. Because now our banks are our network providers. More of your voice notes.
I think the biggest scam is lobola. Paying for a woman is the biggest scam. It's Lehlonolo from Soweto.
Yeah, guys. I think the challenge comes when you say paying for a woman. Because that's not what my understanding of what lobola is. But having said that, I definitely think that there are scenarios and families that make you feel like you're paying for a woman. So, yeah, ne?
Another scam, you pay transport for January, you pay transport for December. School close around October, November, but you pay. Again, when school reopens, you pay. No, the car was not working. It was packing. It's the owner's responsibility to do service on his or her car. Unlike we must pay for service that was not rendered.
I might disappoint you, the person who sent that voice note. So the reason I support the transport guys in regards to that is, and I could be wrong, people that do children's transport guide me here. My understanding, similar to school fees, because the first year I was paying crash fees, I was like, why are we paying full in December if the kid is only going for 2 days? But the way that it's done is they structure it annually and divide by 12 months. That's how you end up paying November and December for transport, even if the kids are not going to school like that. I could be wrong. The alternative is that it gets structured with the same amount divided by 11 months as opposed to 12 months, which means you're paying more per month. So I'm on the side of the transport guys here, but please let me know if I'm incorrect, because it's not my industry, but that's my understanding of how it is structured. It's divided by 12, or you could pay quarterly, or you could pay whatever. But if you are on a monthly, you pay every month, including December. Stanley in Rudaport, how's it?
All right, and how, welcome back.
Thank you.
Listen, the biggest scam in the country is playing Lotto through the app. and you play it like 3 draws in advance. After the first draw, you get a notification. No, you need to renew your ticket. What happened to the remaining 2 draws?
Wait, does that happen to you?
Yeah, many a times. I even wrote a big email to them, and it's still continuing.
No, so I also sometimes play on my app.
I'm telling you, it's big scam.
So wait, let me check something. Stanley, are you aware gore Lotto le Powerball and Daily di fapana jwang?
Yes.
So it's not
if
that you
skipped. No, not skipping. It's like for instance, you'll play the last game, Sekis bonuses Hulu. He tamikile towards the end of December. The following week, renewal. How about you? Hardly one draw it passes. So the next draw, something what now?
No, you must definitely take that up with your bank. And Stanley, please stay on the line. I want us to maybe see if this is something we can take to Wendy Nola. If your tickets are expiring earlier than what you paid for. So stay on the line. More of your voice notes.
No. These people who are talking about scams don't know what they're talking about. The biggest scam in South Africa is licenses. Someone tell me why every 4 years I need to go and renew a license. I have a collection of about 3 or 4 licenses that are said to be expired, but very much valid in my hand. So can someone please explain to me why licenses have a lifespan? I remember back in the day, licenses would be in our green books, and if you have your license, you have your license. Why? What is this about? Hi, Ashley from Centurion.
Water and electricity are very basic human requirements. That we have to pay for it is unacceptable, but even worse, you have to pay VAT on it. Good grief, it should be VAT exempt if you are forced to pay for it.
Good day, Relebogile, and welcome back, and happy 2026, happy new year, happy Anna Relebogile, Naka Chila for free. Sectional titles, I scam. And Elemela Nyanating, I scam. Sectional titles, it is scam. Scam as our fellow, the sectional title. Imagine living in a block of apartments or townhouses, or even in an estate, and then levy, and then when you keep paying for levies and keep paying for them to live there for free. Sectional title like a scam.
Yo, guys, the scams are many. Khomoto says on Facebook, insurance companies are a scam. Tsidiso says credit cards. Vusumuzi says politics. I would say with regards to the person who said credit cards, I think we need to have a masterclass on how to use credit cards. They're supposed to work in your favor. They really, really are. And Wendy Nola will tell you, certain scams, you won't get your money back if you didn't use a credit card. If you paid via EFT, like the money's gone. Versus a credit card. So we have to have that conversation. Paulo says religion is a scam. Tato says Black Friday is a scam. I clocked that one very early on. If it was not in my card to begin with, I am not. Nkule says, welcome back, Relebogile. Stationery list is one of the biggest scam. Why are we sending cleaning products and sweets to reward the kids? Part of the list. Guys, I even heard that there's a list for kids at creche that included sanitary pads. Woo! Time for your latest Eyewitness News headlines.
Thanks, Relebogile.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Former President Jacob Zuma and Thabo Mbeki have denied deliberately delaying justice for the families of apartheid-era victims with their looming recusal application. Both former presidents have filed papers before the Commission of Inquiry into the TRC, applying for the recusal of the Commission's chair, retired Justice Sisi Gampepe. The Commission was established by President Cyril Ramaphosa in May to investigate the delays in prosecuting TRC cases. The South African Weather Service has issued an orange level 9 warning for disruptive rain in Limpopo and Mpumalanga today. This is up from yesterday's level 6 warning. Both provinces have been battered by heavy rains for several days due to tropical moisture. Widespread flooding and damage to infrastructure is again expected today. And in Finland, thousands of tourists have been stranded in the north of the country after flights at Kitila Airport were cancelled due to icy conditions. The cold is considered more severe than in other years and has affected wide regions of northern, central and eastern Europe. According to reports, this is making de-icing of the aircraft and other operations difficult. Those are the headlines. This Eyewitness News and more at 2 o'clock or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Good afternoon from the EWN Traffic Desk. So if you are on Main Reef Road, traffic remains sluggish there from Longdale to Palshoop. This is heading towards China Mall. In Benoni, there's slow-moving traffic on Snake Road. This is approaching the N12. Also look out for those faulty traffic lights in Edenvale at Modderfontein and Van Riebeek. Also in Randburg at Witkoppen and Riverbend, as well as in Marlborough at Marlborough Drive and the M1 South. Likewise, if you come across any traffic, please do send us a WhatsApp on 072-702-1702 or on X at EWN Traffic. I promise it's not a scam.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Bongani Bingwa, 702 Breakfast.
Weekday mornings, 6 to 9.
The comment that I've been hearing that as you leave Johannesburg and the big metros, some of the road infrastructure, the potholes, the state of the roads is a shocker. And that's exactly what the ANC experienced in Rustenburg. You would have thought in an election year where you want to focus on your ability to lead local governments, you would choose a venue that would be accessible. It seems a no-brainer to me, but what do I know? I'm just a talk show host.
Bongani Bingwa, 6 to 9.
On 702.
Year in, year out, we're fixing tires faster than a Formula One pit crew. My team is on top of things like tire whisperers. If an unforeseen accident were to happen in my workshop, at least I've got My Way business insurance to keep the wheels turning.
Visit myway.co.za or dial 0860 64 64 64 and get a quote today. My Way is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's, C's and standard rates apply. My Way. Live your way.
To walk the talk is to turn words into meaningful actions. And it's what we at 702 are committed to doing every day. We are also committed to following the rules set out by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission's Code of Conduct. To give you balanced programming, fair comments, and accurate news. But if we stumble along the way and you feel we are not living up to the code, let us know on comment at 702.co.za. And if after that you're still not happy, you can direct your complaint in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission. Email bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more, visit bccsa.co.za. 702 Afternoons
with Relebogile Mabotja.
25 minutes to 2 o'clock, and we've just been having a conversation about things that are a scam, that have become so normalized that we don't think it's a scam. Thank you, Timmy Boy 388 on TikTok for this lovely talker and conversation. So there are a couple more I wanted to tell you about. One person says paying to use public toilets and hospital parking. Guys, the hospital parking one, do you know that some people have like their babies in the NICU for months? Every single day, the parents are going to come in and pay parking. So I support that hospital parking is a scam, because what else can you do? It's not like you can go park on the street. Arijani says taxes. You pay them when you get paid. You pay taxes when you buy something. You even pay taxes when you have savings, which you already paid taxes for when you got them. Like, guys, also our taxes are not exactly used properly in this country, so that's a problem. Another person says working 9 to 5 every day just to have enough for bills and rent. Paying for any sanitary products, especially for women's feminine products like period products. I agree with that completely. It's something like, why are condoms free and sanitary pads are not? That is a big one. Healthy food costs more than junk food. That's a scam. That's what Samantha has to say. And Nikki says car insurance. Oh, another one that's a scam. Hotel check-in being at 3 p.m., but you must be out by 10 a.m. Like, we know why that needs to happen. They need time to clean. But, 10 a.m.? Like, come on, somebody. I'm paying for the day and you're kicking me out already. Tipping is a scam. It's a clever trick to get you to pay more out of guilt, but also the responsibility should be on the restaurant. Let me look at a couple more coming through on the WhatsApp line. Relebogile, welcome back. Paying so much tax to access your two-pot system is a scam. Another one that has come through reads as follows. Hi, Relebogile, the biggest scam is paying hefty taxes so that illegal immigration can have access to free healthcare. The worst scam is being disqualified from social grants and NSFAS, whereas we are the ones whose taxes are providing these benefits to people who don't contribute a single dime to the country. And I hear you on that one, because we're all going through a tough time. And if those of you were watching social media, the number of arrests and the number of people that were coming into the country makes everybody extremely nervous when our own resources for ourselves are limited. Nicholas says being an ANC comrade is a scam. It sounds like it's a nice retirement plan for some people. Being a comrade can also be a plan. Pumuzo says insurance, in a sense that you can insure a person with two different policies but underwritten by one company. But when you claim, they can only do a payout for one policy, but they don't have a problem with debiting you twice. That definitely is a scam. And we need to add that to the list of questions to Wendy Nola, because I still don't understand how that works. That if you have two life policies, but they happen to be underwritten by the same company, they're only going to pay you out for one, but they're happy to take your money every month. Another person says not being able to claim for UIF when you resign, biggest scam ever. How come you can't claim for UIF? Is there something I'm missing? I'm not sure. Help me out there. Chad and Joburg says scam. The idea of thinking that we need to pay money for the same vegetables that grow out of the ground for free. And so many that continue and come from all of you. Thank you so much for your calls, your voice notes, your messages, and your engagement on the socials.
702 Movies.
Movies and what to stream time. Together we're with Adelaide Moyeng, founder of Movies and Stuff SA. Head over to the socials and give her a like and a follow and a subscribe so you can catch up on all things movies, series, docies. And please do send through all of your recommendations of what you got to catch up on during the festive season. And if you think you're going to get tired of me saying compliments, prepare yourselves. Adelaide Moyeng, compliments.
Compliments.
Compli babes, compli. I'm already going to tell you in advance, Adelaide. I know we were building a nice list. Yes. I did not have the capacity to watch a single adult thing. I wanted to watch adult things, but I couldn't. But I did watch Moana 7 times, and I did watch Rio 1 and 2, and Zootropolis watched again. So I was restricted to kid-friendly content, but I'm going to sneak in time to play catch-up because my son was in charge.
That makes sense. That makes sense. I'm not going to be mad at you. I could never say no to such a cute face. So I understand,
All right. So let's jump into it. What is our first one?
Oh my goodness. Well, welcome back. And yeah, guys, it's been a weird start to the year, as everybody knows as well. It is award season. But before I get into talking about the Golden Globes that happened yesterday, let's get into some brand new series that is actually dropping this week. And so a show that is a bit under the radar, but I think it will get its shine very, very soon. It's a new show. Well, season 2 actually just came out recently. It's called 1,000 Blows, and it's actually on Disney. It's from the creators of Peaky Blinders. So if you're definitely into period piece type TV shows, I think you'll definitely love this. 1,000 Blows is basically set in the Victorian London era, where essentially the first season is where two brothers come all the way from Jamaica to go to London to become world-renowned boxers. But obviously, you guys are coming into a territory that nobody knows of. And obviously, around that time, it's very difficult, for an immigrant or foreigner to come into a place and dominate the scene. And so that ends up being a story on its own. So season 2 obviously just continues from that, where a lot of things happen. I don't want to spoil it for people who've never seen season 1. There's a big problem that happens in season 1 that actually makes season 2 so good to look forward to. So definitely get into that. And a couple of people that you might be familiar with in 1,000 Blows is actually Stephen Graham. And so I know a lot of people might know him from Adolescence. And I just really love what he's been doing as of lately. He just, won a couple of awards for Adolescence as well at different award shows as well. So I just think this is really cool. If you're a big fan of him, I would think this is something that you would also like. And I mean, for the kind of stature that he has, I like that he's not shying away from the fact that he's a big, bulky guy. He can do these types of action TV shows and give you a great performance at the same time. It's rare for action men to give us good performances. So I just know with this, he's definitely going to kill it. And it's definitely a show that people should look into.
Okay, and it sounds like something we should definitely give a go. Then we've got the lowdown.
Now, on the lowdown, it's also a new show that is on Disney, and it's got my favorite, Ethan Hawke, can never do any wrong in my book. This man has given us some of the best films that we have ever seen, and he's going into a TV series as well. So it's called The Lowdown, and it's actually about a very weird type of journalist. Those journalists who always are tapping into things that they should not be getting into. It's kind of a crime drama. It's kind of a biography as well, but it's also really funny in its quirky ways. I like that he's also tapping into that as well. The cast is quite stellar. Somebody who I didn't see, coming back to TV anytime soon is Keith David. If those of us, who don't know who Keith David is, he's got the best voice ever when it comes to animation. People might know him from The Prince and the Frog. He actually plays the bad guy in The Prince and the Frog. He's voiced by him. And yeah, Ethan Hawke plays this journalist who's always he's onto conspiracy theories that he shouldn't know about, but he actually is onto something. And with him doing that, he gets himself into a lot of trouble, and that's where everything just goes into chaos. But it's done so well. So far, it's gotten really great reviews. And yeah, just like I said, I love Ethan Hawke. I mean, anybody who doesn't know his work, I don't know what rock you're living under. Ethan Hawke is given as, Training Day. And as of recent, I also love that he also is doing horror. He is the main villain on Black Phone, for those who are not aware. She does a great job on it. Definitely do not watch that with your children. It is very, very, very scary, but it does what it needs to do as a horror. And like I said, he can do no wrong in my eyes. I absolutely love all of his work. And this is just one of those TV shows that's brand new, off the circuit, and just something different to watch and get into.
Okay, so what happened at the Golden Globes? I have not even watched that, but I did see Tiana Taylor giving a very emotional speech. And someone was asking me if she can act, and I was like, I actually can't say for sure because I haven't seen any of her, but girl, that woman can sing.
Okay, you know what? Let me be the one to then say, because in actual fact, one of the films that I wanted to recommend. So, off of the fact that she won a Golden Globe last night because of the work that she did in One Battle After the Other, it's because she's been in her acting bag for a while now, but in a very gradual manner. I think a lot of people sometimes think when someone wins something as prestigious as a Golden Globe, it means it's like overnight success. Tiana Taylor has been acting for some time now, and in small intervals, she's just been growing and growing over time. A film that I feel like she should have gotten an award for, but obviously it's an independent film that not a lot of people know about, but thank goodness it's actually on Netflix as we speak, is 1001. And now in that film, that's a film that I would love to recommend. If you actually want to see if Tiana Taylor can act, I would recommend that film. It's currently on Netflix, and you will need a tissue box because this film is essentially about a woman who she goes to jail and she comes out, but in her going to jail, she actually has a son, and so she lost her son to the foster system in America, and she came out, but she illegally basically kidnaps her son and raises him, like literally gives him a different identity so that the foster system can't keep track of him, and they basically, you know, help each other get through life as a mom and a son, and it's such a raw film. The performances are absolutely amazing. Like, if you watch that, then come back and tell me if you think Tiana Taylor can't act. But what she won a Golden Globe for was One Battle After Another, and it also won as well for Best Screenplay. That film, I have not watched it yet, but I saw the trailer, and I do know a couple of people who've told me they've watched it, and they've said for them it's one of the best films to come out of 2025, obviously of a long list of films. So, but her performance in that film in particular is stellar. Apparently she really killed it in that, but I know for sure 1001 I mean I can't fault her. It was spectacular. The rawness that she gives me from that film, I could even compare to, there's a film back in the day where Halle Berry, she had a film, I think it was Isaiah's film, the one where she actually also, she had like a drug problem, and she tries to also get her son from like the foster system as well. It could be close to something like that. Her performance is so gripping, emotional, very raw, very amazing. I mean, I think that's a film that you could start with just to check if you think I'm wrong or if I'm right when it comes to her performance.
I hear you. And then finally, we've got a movie. Which one do you want to go with? People we need on vacation.
Yes, so definitely people we meet on vacation. It's not that serious. It's a very swoon-worthy film. It's a rom-com, and essentially it's about these two best friends, a male and a female. You see where I'm going with this, right? So
we know.
These two friends, I knew it. These friends, essentially, they basically link up every year to go on random vacation. But the rule is that when they're on vacation, they have to be opposite of themselves. They have to live like somebody completely different. And I think that's what all of us do when we go on vacation. You try and explore a new version of yourself because, you know, the people that really know you are not there. So you can actually live your best life any way you would like. But in them doing this, they obviously have to tackle certain issues amongst themselves as friends, you know, if they're developing feelings for each other, if it's something that they should consider. And I mean, when it comes to friendships, it's a very dangerous territory to check whether you guys should be dating or if you guys are just really good friends. I'm sure it's a dilemma that a lot of people have gone through, but I just think it's a film that a lot of people would like. It's lighthearted, it's a bit of a comedy, and it is a little bit emotional, but not too hectic. Just something light for a light evening if you're not in the mood for anything too deep and too serious. But also, I'd like to report a crime.
What happened?
I'd like to report that Sinners was robbed at the Golden Globes. I can't. Please, I need to report this crime because it just doesn't make sense. At the Golden Globes, a lot of, obviously, certain shows deserved these wins. Obviously, The Pit won for Best Drama, which, I mean, that's a no-brainer. I've been talking about The Pit for I don't know how long now. If you don't know about that, it's one of the best medical dramas to come out of last year and the year before. And obviously, Sinners as well. So far, they only got an award for obviously being the best film that sold out in cinemas last year. But that is weird because it's a brand new category. It was never there to begin with. But then they didn't win anything else. And that makes no sense.
And look, we do know that a lot of and this happens at every single awards show where you'll feel like certain talents and certain shows were snubbed, and we just
Yeah.
never know. But it does help that these awards shows have jury members that have to vote, and of course we'll always be biased and artist subjective. So it's a tricky and a difficult one. But thank you so much, Adelaide Moyeng. Make sure you follow her on the socials, Movies and Stuff SA.
In the last 24 hours, this is what's happened in your world.
The Independent Examinations Board has announced a 98.3 overall Matric pass rate. More than 16,000 full-time candidates wrote the IEB and SC examinations in October and November last year. Meanwhile, Basic Education Minister Siviwe Kwagube is later expected to announce the results for the National Senior Certificate exam.
I want to say to you, congratulations for coming this far, for your discipline, for your effort, for your resilience.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. 702.
Travel.
This travel feature is brought to you by Avis. Visit avis.co.za to book the Avis 4 for 3 deal today. T's and C's apply. So at 9 minutes to 2 o'clock, we are chatting to Gabby Brondani, writer and travel correspondent, and we'll be discussing spring skiing over Easter. Your calls on 011 8830702 and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. Happy New Year, Gabby.
Hello, Happy New Year.
How was the December break?
It was wonderful. Came back feeling well rested. It was great.
All right, let's jump into it. Why would anybody be skiing in spring over Easter?
So skiing might not necessarily be the first holiday that comes to mind, particularly for South Africans who are not used to the snow and cold temperatures. And it might not sound that appealing, but if a snow holiday, it's honestly one of the most magical and incredible holidays you can have if you are able to have the opportunity to do so. And considering traveling during the Northern Hemisphere spring season is actually not a bad start. So basically, the weather, number one. During the months of March and April, you generally catch the end of the winter season as it's heading into spring. The weather, it's warming up so nicely. It really makes ideal conditions for anyone who may not necessarily enjoy heavy snow, really freezing cold. When the sun is out, it also means longer days. So you have a lot more time on the slopes and to enjoy the snow outside. And I think one of the biggest misconceptions we may have about considering going skiing or snowboarding during the springtime is that we maybe think there's not even any snow there, but it actually does still have good snow conditions. And that's one of the important things to bear in mind if you are planning to a snow or ski holiday during the spring season, is looking for resorts or ski villages that are higher altitude. So Val Thorens in the French Alps, it's one of the most popular resorts because it's one of the highest. And if you travel to Val Thorens, you can actually probably get really good ski conditions all the way up until early May even, which is very handy to know.
So can I ask, at what point does the snow start to get too wet that it becomes maybe unsafe or not conducive for you to be skiing?
So that's actually a really good point. So I would say from April, when it is usually getting a little bit warmer, the mornings are still fairly chilly. So the conditions, if you are skiing or snowboarding in the first half of the day up until the early afternoon, the conditions are actually really, really great. I think if you go anywhere after, say, maybe 2, 3 p.m. in the afternoon, it is getting a little bit slushy, a little bit softer. But you've still then had almost a full day of skiing or snowboarding or enjoying the snow before it starts to get slushy. I've been to Val Thorens, the high ski resort in the Alps. I've been there in the second half of April, and the weather conditions were amazing. I was actually snowboarding in a t-shirt and waterproof ski pants. So it was actually really, really nice. So yeah, morning, first 2/3 of the day, really great ski conditions. Third part of the day, maybe a little bit warmer, a little bit slushier, but that's the perfect time to enjoy your après-ski, relaxing, maybe enjoying all the other activities that are not skiing and snowboarding.
Okay. And I think it's good to know that so that one can get their timing right. But also if we just look at how even our own weather in Joburg has been over the past 2 months, I think these times might be changing with the climate change that's happening. So what else do we need to know if this is something that one is keen to do?
Awesome. So I just want to touch on exactly what you've mentioned there, where the climate has been a little bit upside down around the world. One thing I was pretty surprised to find out, I know Club Med, one of the pioneers of all-inclusive resorts, they've got quite a lot of ski resorts all across Europe, in Japan, in China. They've got what's known as a ski guarantee. So if you book a snow holiday at one of their snow resorts, as it's getting closer to your holiday, if they find that maybe the snowfall for the time that you are going to be in that particular resort doesn't look like it's going to be that substantial to give you the optimum ski experience, they will then move you to a different resort of theirs at the same amazing level at no extra cost, just to ensure you have the best type of snow experience you possibly can. So that's pretty cool to know.
And good for them for taking the initiative to do that, because that's how they're going to retain a client, is to say, okay, the weather's not great here, but we'll send you here.
Absolutely, and there's always an option. There's always, like I said, I think they've got so many resorts across the snow regions around the world, so they've got that playground to sort of move you around if they have to, just to make sure you've saved this money, you've paid for this holiday, you're probably really looking forward to it, so they just want to make sure you have the best time.
Okay, so when we look at tips and tricks that we need to do to just prep for skiing in the spring.
Yes. So if you can book early as you can. Of course, now if anyone does want to plan to travel during next year's springtime, they've got substantial time. Again, most of the time, the travel companies that you do book with, outside of the airlines, the other packages, you usually only have to pay a little bit of a deposit up front, and then you can sort of pay it off up until a month or two before you travel. If anyone is still looking to maybe capitalize on the upcoming spring ski season, I know that Club Med actually have a new sale, which I think actually starts tomorrow, where you can actually also get some good savings for this spring ski season. So yeah, book early. If you are looking to travel during the spring season, again, consider higher altitude resorts. That's definitely going to help you from a snowfall perspective. If you aren't sure if you are going to enjoy skiing or snowboarding, or you're going to be traveling with kids or family members who maybe haven't experienced it before, there are actually quite a lot of other activities you can do. So just do a little bit of research on what type of a snow experience you want to have. Do you want to just do Nordic shoe walking? Do you want to do tobogganing? Do you want to do hikes in the snow? So there's a whole bunch of different options, even if you aren't going to specifically go for skiing or snowboarding.
Have you hiked in the snow?
Not yet, but that's on the bucket list.
I'm so curious as to, so basically, is it similar to like climbing Kili type of a vibe, but not obviously that intense?
No, definitely not that intense, because I think there's different levels of the types of hikes that they do. But I think most of them are pretty basic. So like anyone, you don't have to be a professional hiker to actually enjoy like a hike in the snow.
Okay, it sounds like your feet sink. You know, like when you try to run on beach sand and you want to die. That's what it sounds like. Like you're just trudging through the snow.
Literally. But I think the saving grace with that is that if you do plan to do a hike, you are probably going to be doing it with a professional who knows the landscape.
All right, Gabby, final thoughts on skiing in the spring?
Oh, skiing in the spring. The evenings in Alps are honestly just so magical. The sunrises are incredible, and it's really one of the most incredible types of holidays to enjoy, but without the shock factor of skiing during peak winter, where it is a little bit darker, it is a little bit colder, but a nice way to ease into a snow type of holiday if that's something you've ever been interested to try and experience. I definitely recommend it.
Thank you so much, Gabby Brondani. Follow her on the socials. That's Gabby with 2 B's, Gabbi Brondani, and see all of her travel adventures and information. Now, summer's here and the calendar is packed. Weddings, family gatherings, beach trips, vacations, you name it. You've already sorted your plans. Now, let Avis sort your ride with the 4-for-3 deal. Book a car for a minimum of 4 days and only pay for 3. Plus, Group A bookings get a free upgrade to Group B. because you should be traveling in style, no stress. Lock in your booking at avas.co.za today. T's and C's apply. In the next hour of the show, Dr. Chris Smith, get your science-related questions in right now. And parenting and parents, what happens after the Matric results? It's 2 o'clock.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon, I'm Maki Molapo. The body of a male believed to be that of a missing teenage pupil has been recovered in the Vaal River by SAPS search and rescue teams. Rescue teams have been searching parts of the river since Friday after 17-year-old Thomas Stole from Hoërskool Driehoek went missing. Stole is understood to have been on a boat cruise with a group of friends at the time. The details of what may have happened to the teenager remain unclear, but it's understood that upon returning to their destination, the group realized Stole was missing. Gauteng Police spokesperson Mavela Masondo.
Police officers from Water Wing Search and Rescue found the body of a male at Vaal River. It cannot be confirmed at this stage if it is the body of a 17-year-old boy that was reported missing at Vanderbijl Park Police Station until he is positively identified by the family.
Former President Jacob Zuma and Thabo Mbeki have denied deliberately delaying justice for the families of apartheid-era victims with their looming recusal application. Both former presidents have filed papers before the Commission of Inquiry into the TRC, applying for the recusal of the Commission's chair, retired Justice Sisi Khampepe. The Commission was established by President Cyril Ramaphosa in May to investigate the delays in prosecuting TRC cases. Khomotso Modise has more.
The TRC Commission of Inquiry is already months behind in its work, having applied for an extension after it failed to begin hearings last year. It's been dealing with several parallel applications, including the recusal application for the chief evidence leader, Advocate Ishmael Seminya, which was dismissed. Now, the participation of the Commission's chair, Justice Sisi Khampepe, is being questioned by former Presidents Thabo Mbeki and Jacob Zuma, who are both expected to be witnesses. In their papers, both former heads of state argue that Khampepe cannot afford the process the neutrality it deserves, as she was one of the commissioners in the initial Truth and Reconciliation Commission in the 90s, and she was Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions. While Khampepe questions the timing of the applications, pointing out that both Zuma and Mbeki knew about her appointment in May last year, they've hit back, saying they were only served with a Rule 3.3 notice informing them of their implication months afterwards. The recusal application will be heard on Friday. Khomotso Modise, Eyewitness News.
Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi says the government needs to make a greater investment in education and technology to ensure return on the country's growing economy. He was speaking in Johannesburg earlier today at the National Senior Certificate Breakfast and Award Ceremony for the country's 40 top 40 grade 12 achievers. Lesufi took to the podium today to honor and celebrate Gauteng's top achievers, praising the learners for their outstanding achievements, adding that they have the potential to take the country forward. But he says in order to do that, there must be a focus on technology, emphasizing that pupils should no longer worry about issues such as desks or electricity in classrooms, but should instead focus on what they can innovate through the use of artificial intelligence.
Some of these children one day, they will develop that fridge. Even when you are still at home or you are still at work, you are somewhere driving, you just send a text message to a fridge minister and say, "Dear fridge, please defrost this meat at this sauce, at this temperature, so that by the time I arrive at home, the fridge should just say, 'Dear Madibuseng, your food is ready.'" That's the future we need for our children.
Lesufi added that by providing access to the latest technology, learners will in turn contribute to the economy. Widespread flooding and damage to infrastructure is again expected today in Limpopo and Mpumalanga. This after the South African Weather Service issued an orange level 9 warning for disruptive rain today, up from yesterday's level 6 warning. Both provinces have been battered by heavy rains for several days due to tropical moisture. Spokesperson for the South African National Parks, JP Lowe, says the inclement weather led to the evacuation of some campsites to less affected parts of the Kruger National Park.
SANParks strongly urges all guests and staff to adhere strictly to no entry and road closure signage, avoiding driving through flooded roads or low-lying bridges, and refrain from removing logs, debris, or barriers placed on roads. The safety of visitors, staff, and surrounding communities remains SANParks' highest priority. The South African Weather Service will continue to closely monitor the situation.
Meanwhile, the South African Weather Service has issued an advisory for very hot to extremely hot and uncomfortable conditions for the Western and Northern Cape. Temperatures there are expected to peak at low 40s. And in Finland, thousands of tourists have been stranded in the north of the country after flights at Kitila Airport were cancelled due to icy conditions. The cold is considered more severe than in other years and has affected wide regions of northern, central and eastern Europe. According to reports, this is making de-icing of the aircraft and other operations difficult, while stranded Brits have a chance of getting home later this afternoon when flights to Manchester and London are scheduled. The Met Office says temperatures will still be around minus 28 degrees at the time. Gold's trading at $4,584.95 an ounce. The rand's at 16.42 to the dollar, at 22.10 to the pound, at 19.17 to the euro. Brent crude oil's at $62.92 a barrel.
In the traffic in Marlborough, you can anticipate slight delays on the M1 South. This is due to an accident, and if you are on Main Reef Road, traffic remains sluggish there from Longdale to Palshoop.
A look at your weather. It's partly cloudy skies in Gauteng this afternoon with isolated showers and thunder showers expected. Temperatures are peaking at highs between 26 and 28 degrees. The top story in Eyewitness News this hour. The body of a male believed to be that of a missing teenage pupil has been recovered in the Vaal River by SAPS search and rescue teams.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Relebogile Mabotja.
Live, streaming countrywide
On the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Seven minutes after 2 o'clock, the second and final hour of 7:02 afternoons with me, Relebogile Mabotja, and we're already deep within the laughs, almost like we never took a break and that we've been together the whole time. Coming up in this hour of the show, Parenting and Parents feature. What happens after your child gets their results, their matric results? And I'd love to hear from all of you parents and from yourselves as individuals. What kind of plans did you have and how did they change when the results came out? Because sometimes that is the case where they'll say, we're considering accepting you, but we're waiting for the final results to say, okay, definitely we're going to accept you. Or if you are waiting for a specific outcome and you don't get it, as in you need to get an 80% or a distinction in this and this for a particular bursary. So that's the conversation that we are going to be having with Pranita Jagio, who is the head of SACAP's Durban campus. And we're really going to be covering the alternative pathways like your higher certificate programs or even your gap years and how those can benefit a young person who, you know, instead of them sitting at home sort of waiting for something to happen. So I want to hear from all your experiences as well. And then it is The Naked Scientist with Dr. Chris Smith, where all of your science-related questions will be answered. So get in touch with us, 011 883 0702, SMS us 31702, tweet at Relebogile M at Radio 702, using the hashtag 702 afternoons and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
Your voice.
Your life.
Your afternoon radio.
On 702 afternoons.
With Relebogile Mabotja.
What have all of you had to do in that time as matriculants? I know that times have changed. There are fewer opportunities. We see it with youth unemployment. But what are the alternatives? of what a young person can do after they get their results. We already know that there aren't enough places, there aren't enough bursaries that are going to cover everybody who can't afford, which means there'll be a group of individuals who find themselves with not much they are able to do, or with limited options of what is available to them. So share with us what you were able to do. And we touched on it a little bit last year as young people were preparing to do their matric finals. So some of the things that we're sharing, we spoke about gap years and the different kinds of gap years. I know an individual who went to work on the boat of a billionaire. There are those opportunities where you can go work on rich people's boats. And in essence, you're there on the boat and you're chilling until they decide to sort of arrive on their helicopter, and you service the boat with whatever different skills are available. But I know many people make good money. They get to travel. There are also opportunities with teaching English abroad. I do know that I think it requires a TEFL course, as in a teaching English as a foreign language course. Those options are also available. When we speak gap year, back in my day, many people would go to the UK to like bartend or waitress, or they could work at those companies where you become a service worker for like Wimbledon, different events as well. But share with us what opportunities you think are available. There's also au pairing. I know that there are some tricky situations that people find themselves in when they go abroad for au pairing, but through agencies and other things, it cannot be too bad. We are busy trying to just sort out a technical issue to get in touch with our guest so that we can have this discussion. And I think when it comes to this discussion we're going to be having about what happens after your child or you receive your matric results, it becomes very, very sensitive, in the sense that if you were to look back to where you were as a matriculant, how uncertain life felt, how writing your matric finals was probably the biggest thing you just came out of. And if you were lucky enough, you got to do matric vacation. It is everything. So I also hope we can recognize that this is a big deal for many, many people in their lives. Hence, we're having this conversation. Not everybody's going to get the opportunity to go for a tertiary education and then go straight into a job, but there are other things that they can do. 011 883 0702 and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
There's a new way to experience all your favorites. Pulse Africa, the 24/7 fast channel, now live on PrimeMediaPlus.com and the Prime Media Plus app, bringing you the best of Prime Media around the clock. Watch the biggest moments from 702. It's non-stop entertainment and authentic African storytelling, all from Africa's leading media network. Pulse Africa, only on the PrimeMediaPlus.com and Prime Media Plus app.
"702 Afternoons"
with Relebogile Mabotja.
Lines are always open
on 011
883
0702. Parenting and Parents
on 702.
13 minutes after 2 o'clock in our Parenting and Parents feature for today, we are talking about setting the future course, what happens after this young matriculant gets their results. And it is a scary time. For some, your future already seems set and prepared. Maybe you've got a job lined up, or you've got your bursary prepared and your travel arrangements. You're even about to move in, or you are one of those who really has no idea what it is that you're going to be doing with your life. 011 883 0702 and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. I'd like to welcome onto the show Pranitha Jadio, who is the head of the South African College of Applied Psychology's Durban campus, and she joins us to guide us through this conversation. Pranitha, welcome to the show and Happy New Year.
Good afternoon. How are you? And thank you for this opportunity.
I am doing so well, and I'm really excited for this conversation because I genuinely believe that there's always hope. I know for many, they want to automatically take the path of going to get their tertiary education, but it isn't necessarily going to be an opportunity available to everybody. So in terms of Pranita, while young people are waiting for their results, what advice would you give them before we speak about what happens afterwards?
Right now, in terms of advice I could give them is to hang in there, be strong. It's okay. And I think that's the most important words. It's okay. Whatever it may be, whether it's good, whether it's bad, it's okay. You did your best. And that's the most important thing.
Definitely the most important thing, and it is not the end of the world. So let's start on the not so great side. If a young person's results are that they did not pass, what options are available to them?
The biggest shift in moving is this defines me to this directs me or redirects me. Results often reflects the performance at any specific time, but not a person's intelligence, their value or their true potential. And when learners see their results as information rather than identity, they regain their agency. And with that, they need to start thinking constructively about what the next steps are going to be.
Okay, and there are opportunities to try and rewrite and improve your marks.
Yes, absolutely. There is a lot of opportunities too. They just need to reach out probably to their schools or to their departments to see which is the best way forward. Again, it's about having those honest and open conversations with their peers.
Can you maybe help sensitize the parents of really the psychological impact of results day and even this waiting period? Because for many of us, writing matric was like so long ago, and on hindsight, you're like, it's really not that deep. It's not that big a deal, but to them, that really is the biggest thing for many of them that is happening in their lives.
When it comes to parents, it's not a good space to be in because they feel more anxious than students. Or they want to be at the forefront. And I always say you need to be not ahead of your students or of their kids. They need to be aligned with them. So which basically means they need to be walking the same pace. It's about offering that support. It's about mindfulness. It's about being flexible. It's just about being there. And I think that's important as well.
Okay, so for the young people, because also sometimes it's not about I need to rewrite to try and get my certificate. For some, it's I need to rewrite because I would just like to improve on my marks and maybe try and get that distinction I missed by 2%.
Mm-hmm.
So
no, absolutely. Yes, continue. Sorry.
No. You were going to respond to what I was just saying. Go ahead.
We always want to do better. We always want to prove that we're able to do better. And when we look at results, it's always, again, it's like a shift of thinking as to where we want to go, whether we're going to get those points to reach a certain degree in terms of entrance examination. Again, there is a catch to it. Yes, we can send papers for remarking. Yes, you want that extra 2%. That 2% could equate to literally like 5 to 7 marks. But at the same time, there's a downer where you send the paper for remarking, your marks can go down. Another, probably you can go back and you can rewrite that paper, but you don't know whether you're going to make that 2% or whether you're going to get that better mark. So literally it's like a catch-45 because you're not sure where you stand with it. Supplementary papers are not always the same as the papers that you have written. There's chances that it could be different. Content could be covered that's different. So again, it's a chance that you're taking. How would you prep for a supplementary exams could be different from prepping for a normal exams. So this is something that you need to be open about. You need to have a change of mindset. Yes, I can do it, but how I'm going to do it. If I don't do it, will I regret it? And that's another question mark. So there's a whole lot of question marks in yes, no, or maybe.
How should learners start to reframe the role of matric results in terms of the context of this long and evolving career?
I think this route, it assumes learners that's more academically based, emotionally based, or even psychology based. They all need to be ready at the same time, which is not true completely. Young people also develop at different paces, which we also need to understand that. Some may want to go straight into the degree, which leads to burnout, anxiety, or disengagement. Success is not about speed, it's more about readiness.
So why then are some experts sort of looking at this idea that one exam determines your entire future as outdated?
In my opinion, you can't use that concept in terms of it being outdated. Everybody works at different paces. Everybody works at different lengths or different speed. It all depends on the individual. We always look at matric results. We need to go, 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 or you need to do A, B, and C. You need to follow this in terms of protocol. Again, it all comes back to peer pressure. It all comes back to anxiety, and we need to do away from that. We need to accept a student for who they are. Not everybody can give off their 100%. It's okay for you not to perform at your peak. It's okay for you not to get that 80%. If you get a 40%, which is okay as well, there is always an opportunity for growth, and that's something we need to remember.
Yeah, and it's a lesson that we ourselves as the grown adults are still trying to also learn, and need to remember that your child will be mirroring what they see you do. So hopefully that message can land. What are the alternative pathways that a learner should consider if now, let's say they do, pass, but maybe there's just no place for them?
I would recommend the higher certificate. The higher certificate is a good opportunity, a good way to basically start off. It's more of a foundation phase. This is basically bridging the gap between school and higher education. It's ideal for learners who do not meet these entry requirements, and also who needs additional academic support where they can build the confidence, more clarity, moving into a much more demanding space of study. So for me, a higher certificate is one of the most equivalent form of education. It gives you grounding, it gives you skills, and that's something every student needs. So whether you're going straight into the degree, from the perspective of education, I always say to students, start off with a higher certificate. It gives you foundation, it gives you skills, and it gives you an opportunity to grow into where you want to go.
And then in terms of some of the other options, before we were able to connect with you, I was just sharing with all the listeners how at some point back in the day, many people would go to the UK to take a gap year and maybe work in a bar or bartend or go into a hotel or something. Others do au pairing. I know some people who are taking TEFL courses, or those that go work on a billionaire's boat.
I am in full support of a gap year. There is nothing wrong with taking a gap year. I think when we look at a gap year, people look at it as students getting lazy, or they don't show any interest. But there's two types. You've got your intentional and structured, and you've got an unstructured. So it depends on where you want to go and how you see yourself. And absolutely, I agree with you. If we take a gap year, it teaches students to be more independent. Do things like micro-credential courses, travel with a purpose to do au pair, like what you said. Do voluntary jobs, gain on skills. We're working towards 5IR, we'll go into 6IR. AI is in. So let's learn those skills, be open to learning different things. And by doing this, it's more about growth. It's building independence, responsibility, as well as self-awareness, which is absolutely important, and real world perspective. And that's just by doing something that's different. And this gives you an opportunity to realign as to where you want to go and what you want to do going forward.
In terms of the parents or individuals who are reluctant for gap year because of the fear that maybe you're losing study momentum, what would you say to them?
I would say, personally, we just have a not a good perspective of it. We don't look at the good. We always will go straight into failure or not so good. But it's not. It's about being flexible. It's about being open-minded. It's about reframing, and it's about the opportunity that one chooses, and how it fits their child readiness and their needs. When parents shift with their language, children also need to be more open-minded, and they need to understand this doesn't work for all kids. So I
Yes.
think from a perspective of being flexible and being open-minded, it is okay.
We've got a voice note on 072
Hi, Kile. My daughter wrote Matric in 2023. She failed. She rewrote in 2024. She failed again. In 2023, when the first time she failed, she wanted to go back to grade 11, and I refused. Encouraged her to rewrite, but she failed again. And then when she failed again for the second time, after rewriting, I decided to register her at the college doing an NCV. NCV, it's a 3-year course, which is equivalent to Matric. But the problem is that now she's doing something she didn't want to do. She always wanted to be a nurse. Yeah, it's difficult. Anonymous from Snake Park.
Thank you so much, Anonymous. Yo, this is such a tricky one. What would you advise in this, Pranita, in this particular scenario?
As parents, we need to listen. And I always say there's two types of listening. We listen to listen, and there's listen to understand. As parents, we need to listen to understand as to what your child wants to do and where they want to go. This is a perfect example. As the child failed 3 years, is now enrolled in something that the child doesn't want to do. It's about the passion that you have. She wants to be a nurse. What's the requirements to be the nurse? Is there any skills program that the child can get into in order to go where she wants to go? For instance, like the higher certificate, that closes the gap. And if we're looking at different NQFs, I didn't get from the voice note in terms of where the student studied prior or after completing Matric. But this is something you need to do, is you need to look at certain qualification which bridges the gap between school in terms of the NQF and tertiary education. If the student went into the higher certificate, from the higher certificate, the student could have went into the social sciences, could have went into the nursing program. Again, it all depends on the passion of the child. And we always say to parents, the child needs to live their dreams and not the dreams of the parents. And that is the biggest issue and concern that we have, where a student will complete 1 year and realize this is not for them. And that causes the pressure on the students. So we need to be mindful again in terms of how we approach students, how we approach the kids, and we need to listen to understand where they want to go. And I hope that helps.
Yes, definitely. And a message here says, Relebogile, when I finished Matric, my parents did not have enough resources to fund my tertiary education. I immediately went to work in the bank. Things were not easy, but my life changed completely the day I learned to sell. I became so good at it that I'd eventually earn significant amounts of money in commission earnings. My advice to young people is simple. Learn to sell, and become really good at it. Be the best salesman in your company. Join places like SA Breweries, Coca-Cola, Old Mutual, Sanlam, Unilever, so many as a sales trainee. Trust me, it's a transferable life skill that will change your life forever. That's from Jose Tsile. And your final thoughts for all of the listeners today, Pranita?
This voice note has touched my heart in so many ways, and that basically shows you don't need to have money to go and study. You need to start off small and you need to basically grow out there. My parting shot to all students is to ask questions to yourself. And that question should be is what do I need right now to grow and to succeed? Not what others expect, not what looks impressive, but what will genuinely support your development, your well-being, and your future goals. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pranita, for chatting to us on our parenting and parents' future. Please be mindful, as she has shared, and sensitive to your child's needs when it comes to their results coming out, and all the best. It's just after 2:30, time for your latest Eyewitness News headlines. Good afternoon.
Thanks, Relebogile. Good afternoon. The body of a male believed to be that of a missing teenage pupil has been recovered in the Vaal River by SAPS search and rescue teams. Rescue teams have been searching parts of the river since Friday after 17-year-old Thomas Sithole from Hoërskool Driehoek went missing. Sithole is understood to have been on a boat cruise with a group of friends at the time. Western Cape Local Government and Environmental Affairs MEC Anton Bredell has commended fire crews who've been battling stubborn fires across the province this past week. Bredell briefed the media today on the status of the multiple fires experienced in Mossel Bay, Overberg and Cape Winelands district recently. Firefighters in the Overberg district are still battling raging fires in Pearly Beach and Stanford, while the fire in the Franschhoek area has been largely contained. And in the Middle East, Iran's foreign minister says the Islamic Republic is ready for both war and talks after repeated threats from US President Donald Trump to intervene militarily over a crackdown on protests that activists fear has killed hundreds. More than 2 weeks of protests, initially sparked by economic grievances, have turned into one of the biggest challenges yet. In a sign of the severity of the crisis, the authorities have imposed an internet blackout that has now lasted more than 3.5 days and that activists say is aimed at masking the extent of the deadly crackdown. Those are the headlines. This Eyewitness News and more at 3 o'clock or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
In the traffic, if you're leaving Marlborough, you can still anticipate slight delays on the M1 South, and this is due to an accident. In Soweto and Protea Glen, there's bumper-to-bumper traffic on the N12 West. This is from the R554 and the R558. Also look out for those faulty traffic lights in Randburg at Witkopen and Riverbend, in Forest Town at Oxford Road and the M1, as well as in Marlborough at Marlborough Drive and the M1 South. Likewise, if you come across any traffic, please send us a WhatsApp on 072-702-1702 or tweet us on X at EWN Traffic.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Africa Milani.
Weekday mornings,
4 to 6.
JD in the Vaal want to respond to the January 8th statement delivered by the ANC on Saturday.
I have a luxury of traveling around most townships in Gauteng. The road is very bad, Africa. I don't even want to talk about potholes, bruh. Listen to what they were asking him the other day. President, look at the potholes in Rustenburg. He said, no, what you are making a mistake of, the issue of potholes is not just a Northwest problem. Every province has a pothole. What kind of a response is that from a president?
When there shouldn't be any potholes anywhere to be reflecting on in the first place.
Africa Milani.
4 to 6 on 702.
Supercharge your business productivity with Moloi Innovative Solutions. We bring the most highly customized and cost-effective IT infrastructure to your fingertips. Whether it's desktop and server support, cloud services or hardware, software and printer procurement, our dynamic team makes sure that you have the tech that resonates with you. Moloi Innovative Solutions. Experience at its best. Get to molois.co.za for more.
The Dis-Chem Better Rewards program is here, and every time you shop and save, you're also giving back. Each time you swipe, not only are you rewarded, but a percentage of your purchase is donated to the Dis-Chem Foundation to support communities in need. So why wait? Sign up to become a Better Rewards member today and support with every swipe. Dis-Chem Foundation, caring for the community.
The Money Show.
Weekday evenings at 6.
Both parties aren't speaking. It was a simple statement. From what we know, from what we understand of the industry, does this merger make sense?
I mean, the market has sort of rewarded the prospects to Glencore, so 7% up, whereas Rio Tinto is 6% down. This is a bit complicated, and there are a lot of complications in combining these two companies.
David Mackay, the editor at Mining MA.
The Money Show
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show, Stephen Curtis, is brought to you by ABSA CIB. Invested in your story because your story matters. ABSA is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
Coming up
on 702 Drive with John Perlman.
702 Drive is coming up from 3 to 6 p.m. with John Perlman. Happy New Year, John. Compliments.
And a Happy New Year to you.
Did you have a good December?
I had a great, really, really great time. Thank you.
You look well rested. I had an interesting December. Lots of highs and lows,
Yes,
but we're
yes.
alive and we made it into the new year.
Okay.
Earlier we were talking about what is it that we've normalized but we feel like is a scam. And some of the things we mentioned, some people are like tax. The fact that you get taxed on your income, then you buy things and you pay tax. And then even when you save your own money, you have to pay tax. Others said medical aid. Some said car insurance. Some said religion is a scam. Is there anything that is not a scam, but you feel like it's the other one, which is a good one, paying for water.
Mm-hmm.
They say is a scam. What do you think? Is there anything
Why would paying for water be a scam?
Because the earth is filled with water that humans should just have.
Yeah, but then by the same argument, I shouldn't pay for peaches even if somebody had to grow the peaches, pack the peaches, make
that
sure
one
they
came
get to
up
a
as
place
well.
that suits me. I mean, I can't think offhand of anything. I mean, there are lots of things I think I please, but nothing comes to mind, to be honest.
Okay.
Maybe I'm just in a good mood.
You are in a good mood. I'm pretty sure one of them will come up. You'll be like, this is the
I'll
one.
call you.
This is the one. What's
I'll
coming
call
up
into the show.
What's coming up on your show
So,
today?
good afternoon, everyone. A story that made a lot of news last year was a hijacked property in Bryanston. Apparently, there's another one. We're going to talk about that with the journalist who's been uncovering this, Alex Patrick, joining us at 3:20. We'll keep up with the fires in the Eastern and Western Cape. Remains a huge problem, not just for people living there, by the way, but, for example, tourist bookings are getting cancelled, and all of that actually affects the country, because somebody was expecting to make X amount of money, and whether it's a scam or not, some of that money would go on tax. All of this is a setback for us collectively. More on that a little bit later in the show. Massive levels of confiscation of counterfeit goods. We'll talk to the police about what they're confiscating and whether they're just, is this a flow of things that they can actually hold back or not? And then IEB Matric results out. We'll talk to some of the top achievers. National Senior Certificate results out today. So we'll follow that up on the news a little bit later. I don't think we'll make it for our show. So lots going on, lots to talk about. Looking forward to it.
702 Drive with John Perlman coming up from 3 to 6 p.m.
702.
The Naked Scientist.
Time for The Naked Scientist on 702 afternoons at 22 minutes to 3 o'clock. All of your science-related questions, you can come and get them in immediately. 011 883 0702 and the WhatsApp line 072 7021 702. Dr. Chris Smith, it's not Happy Monday, it's Happy New Year.
It certainly is. Happy New Year, Lebo. Good to be back. And I can't believe here we are in 2026. And it won't be long, a couple of years, and it'll be 20 years since we started doing this program. Can you believe that? How time flies.
My goodness. And you still are learning, right, on the job?
Every day. I mean, there's some of the best questions that are asked from this programme that I ever get asked, actually, I have to say. And as you say, every question's a learning opportunity, because some of the things you know about straight away, but some things it makes you think about the thing. And then you think, well, there's some other deeper aspects to this that we perhaps could have talked about at the time. And then the next time that question surfaces, because inevitably some of them do come back round, you can enrich the answer even more. So I'd like to think, after 18 years, I'm getting better.
You definitely are getting better. And I really, really wish you a beautiful year, Dr. Chris Smith. May the kids continue to grow healthily and happily and keep you on your toes.
Likewise.
All right, let's jump into our science-related questions on 011 883 0702 and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. Our very first question says, Dr. Chris, what is the correlationship between blood group types, what we should eat, and in determining our healthiness and wellness? From Mkuseli.
Hello, Unkuteli. This has come up before, and people often do talk about having a certain blood group and eating a diet to match. I don't think there's really, really firm evidence to support behaving in that way, because to be quite honest with you, the elephant in the room when it comes to eating is that many of the world's population are eating a shocking diet, which is why more than half the world population is headed to be obese pretty soon. And we're not undernourished, we're malnourished as a human population. So worrying about whether you're just about on par with what your blood group says isn't the big problem here. The big problem is people eating the right sorts of things in the right sorts of amounts. There's some evidence that blood group segregates with other traits. So let me explain. When you have genes in your DNA, you inherit a pattern of genes, half your genes from your mum, half from your dad. And genes are in the same positions on chromosomes in both parents. So if you inherit chromosome number 1 from your mum and then chromosome number 2 from your dad, the genes that are on that chromosome, they're in exactly the same position on the two chromosomes. You just have a different version of the gene, one from mum, one from dad. And blood groups are no different. And it also means that if you've got a blood group, you will also have certain genes which are in close position on the genome to that blood group close by. They'll also come with it. The groups will come together because you inherit bits of DNA more often if they're close together than bits of DNA that are farther apart in your genome. So you can use blood groups as a marker for other traits. And this actually surfaced during COVID because what someone did, they looked at how often someone was presenting with really severe COVID and what their blood group was. Now, if all things were equal, you should see the same number of people with severe COVID as there are that number of people with that blood group in the population. But what we actually saw was people with blood group O were relatively protected against COVID. They were underrepresented amongst the group who had severe disease, and people with other blood groups like blood group A were overrepresented. This suggests that blood group is associated with having a particular outcome with COVID, but it doesn't say that the blood group causes it. It says there's an association, and the association probably stems from the fact that nearby the gene for your blood group, there are other genes that affect how your immune system works, for example, or how your metabolism works, or how inflammation works. And as a result of that, the blood group is a proxy marker. And it may well be that there are some such proxy markers which say if you have a particular blood group, you have a particular predilection to developing certain conditions, and therefore eating in a certain way or avoiding certain things might have a small impact on your overall health. But to be honest with you, the biggest effect here is that the world population is heading for a diabetes crisis, because the biggest risk factor for diabetes is being overweight. And we are, as a human population, increasingly becoming more overweight with time. And many people describe this as the worst pandemic we have yet to confront in terms of what it will cost us in terms of overall health and mortality.
There's something you said about the difference between a malnutrition and, did you say undernutrition?
That's right. Because
what's the difference?
We used to historically think of a malnourished person. If you ask somebody to think up in their mind, what does a malnourished person look like? And often people will think of a very underweight child with a big belly because they've got the conditions like kwashiorkor or beriberi and so on, which are nutritional deficiencies that don't have enough calories. But in fact, you can be extremely overweight and malnourished because you're not short of calories, but you're short of all the right food groups. You're not eating a healthy diet. So you're malnourished, bad diet, but you've got too many of the wrong sorts of calories. And that's really the position we find ourselves in. Plenty of calories in most places on Earth, but they're all being consumed in the wrong way and in excess. And that carries with it a big health impact.
Okay, we go to the lines on Audible 1-883-0702. Hendrik from Waterkloof. Hi, Hendrik, how are you?
Hello, Relebogile. Well, how are you?
Good, good. Go ahead.
Yes, I've got a question for the naked scientist. Something that's been bothering me is, so the question is, are we still printing encyclopedias? All right, so that, I remember back in the day when you have the Encyclopedia Britannica at home, every year they would issue their book of the year, which would then summarize all the scientific discoveries and sporting events and news and politics around the world. And they published their last book of the year in 2018. So the combined knowledge of the human species is online. But what if there's like some massive CME or EMP that were to wipe out all the data storage? Are we still physically documenting our knowledge and discovery and history? And because it just seems that everything is online. I mean, when there's a new scientific paper, it's being published online. When there was a new mathematical proof, then it's being published online. I mean, are we still physically documenting the knowledge of the species, or are we just relying on storing it digitally?
I love that
Hi,
question, Hendrik.
Yeah,
I
so do
love
I.
that
It's
question.
really thought-provoking point. And a really good example of this is in the UK when I was little, in the mid-1980s, there was an initiative called the Doomsday Project. And it was a hark back to the Doomsday Project of hundreds of years previously, where they wanted to know who had exactly what and how many of us there were in the UK, for example. So this was the digital era Doomsday Project, as computers got big enough and good enough that you could store massive amounts of data, and they produced this thing called the Doomsday Project. And it was stored on enormous great laser discs, like a CD on steroids. This thing was like the size of an old LP that you'd put on your record player, but a laser disc. And it had enormous amounts of information, photographs of people's houses, interviews with people. I remember playing with it as a schoolchild, being absolutely in awe of the power of this thing. But guess what? The technology doesn't exist anymore to read those discs or play them. So all the data on them is completely obsoleted and lost, effectively. And people point to the Rosetta Stone and say, look, that thing's thousands of years old and we can still read it. And in fact, it shows us how to translate one language into another. You can't go wrong with pen and ink or even stone tablets. And they make a really good point, and so do you, which is that if we are not careful and we don't have backup systems, there is a massive risk that we are going to lose data. And so storage companies do have resilience, and they have a number of different formats and data storage platforms that they use rather than just hard disks and electromagnetic storage. There are tape systems and there are other ways of storing data. People are actively now looking at DNA, yes, the stuff inside your cells that stores your genome, as a possible alternative. Because while the technology may be slow, because we can go to bones from a Neanderthal from tens of thousands of years ago and still read the genome, if we put our information into DNA, which is an incredibly, an incredibly dense data storage mechanism, we can store massive amounts of data in a highly resilient chemical format. So people are looking at all these options, but you are quite right, it is a massive risk. And the Encyclopedia Britannica did stop printing physical copies of their encyclopedias. Some encyclopedias, I gather, are still printed, but the vast majority have moved entirely into the online regime. And there is a big risk there if something were to happen that was a catastrophe that could wipe out computers. Yeah, many people are worried about this, and they are looking at ways to safeguard data, right down to your average family photo album. If you think about it, most of us have got albums of photographs snapped on original film when we were little, of us as kids growing up and that kind of thing. And then this step change happens about 15 years ago, and cameras disappeared. And now almost all media is digital. And you see situations emerge when someone passes away and their family then can't get access to all their pictures because they're all on some device locked behind a password. And this is a real worry that what we can hand on to the next generation, even as trivial as that, trivial for some compared to the sum total of humankind's knowledge. But you can see the point that it is a real concern, and people are very worried about it and trying to make plans for how we safeguard this stuff.
Thank you so much, Hendrik, for that powerful question. And I have to say, Dr. Chris, I know that outside of the fear of the data, my biggest fear is the service providers of cloud storage, just them being held hostage or them just deciding to hold us ransom.
Correct.
And many of us, because space is so expensive, are working straight from the cloud. I saw somebody on TikTok saying that OneDrive by Microsoft has now put people in a situation where if you delete something, it usually should stay in your trash on the cloud. But now you can't delete something on the cloud without it being removed from your machine, meaning that once you've uploaded it, they're in charge of it.
Yeah, and they're vulnerable, and so are you. And everyone wants to get people addicted to these sorts of systems because then you keep paying fees to access them. But the danger comes when you're not here to access them. If I died tomorrow, my devices, my photo albums, my keepsakes, my memories of my life that also I've shared with other people around me would just be handed on to people. But my online presence, my digital presence, is much more difficult to hand on and to safeguard. And there are many, many people who have passed away, left a digital legacy, and it's just in various places all over the internet. There's no letters of correspondence that people used to write to each other. You think about how much history goes on. A historian will sit down and they'll look at the correspondence between two great thinkers, Einstein and his collaborators in Europe, for example, and they'll unpick those letters and they'll work through them and they'll discover new things and why people thought the way they did. That's going to be an absolute nightmare in the future if we can even do it, because those sorts of correspondences, emails, etc., they're all just being deleted. You leave your university, delete. All the stuff goes. And for data protection reasons, we even have laws now encouraging people to erase all this stuff so that we're actually destroying our legacy. And I do wonder what, looking back in a few hundred years' time, people will think about how we embrace the digital age and what sacrilege we committed, losing all our thoughts and casting them away because of this very question.
All right, there's one from Lindy on TikTok who says, please ask the doctor, why do children cry when they must sleep? Is sleeping painful for them?
It's painful for the parents when they sleep, isn't it?
I thought they just have FOMO. They have a fear of missing out. They're scared that, like, if they fall asleep, they're going to miss out on life. But what is the reason?
Well, remember that little kids, the kinds that do tend to cry at night, they are very reassured and have a great bond with their parents and their loved ones. And for reasons of being safe and growing up safely and having a successful upbringing, you seek out and strive to stay close to those you trust and love. So when you're put away from them in your bedroom or wherever, you do worry. Are my parents still there? Are my brothers and sisters still there? Am I going to be okay? So there's a fear factor to it to an extent. And then there's for really little kids, the classic one. They wake up because they've got a wet nappy or an empty tummy. And there's very few reasons why babies cry, but they're either something's uncomfortable, something's cold, something's hungry, or a nappy is not ideally as it should be. And you fix those things and normally they're happy.
All right, and more of your questions coming through. We've got questions on our WhatsApp line 072702 and 702. One says, how did the first Americans take photos on the moon when all is buoyant? Is this not a scam, knowing Americans? From Holla in Ekurhuleni.
Hi, Hola. Well, the answer is that the Americans took cameras to the moon when they went on multiple missions. And although the moon is free of an atmosphere, there's largely no air to breathe on the moon, it does have gravity because the moon is very large. I mean, it's about a fifth of the size of the Earth, and you'd have lots of gravity. Otherwise, the astronauts would float off into space. Nothing would be able to land on the moon. So although you can do big jumps because the gravity is lower because the mass of the moon is lower than the Earth, therefore you're experiencing a lower gravity pulling you down, there's still not zero gravity. And they can hold a camera and point a camera at things, and as a result they can take perfectly good pictures. It's very bright on the moon. There's lots of sunshine, so there's no reason why a camera, if your eye can work, a camera can work very, very well in space, and it did. And we've got some lovely footage of both television footage but also stills of the astronauts on the moon. And hopefully we're going to see this repeated in the coming years ahead, because the Artemis missions are scheduled to blast off this year, which will put people in orbit around the moon for the first time in 50 years, and then after that, back on the moon's surface in human physical form. We hope in the near future. So watch this space. Boom.
Excuse the pun.
Hi, Relebogile and Dr. Chris. Sam here from Joburg. Just want to ask Dr. Chris, does Glucopro, because I don't see the doctors recommending the Glucopro, does it cure sugar diabetic? Please explain, does Glucopro cure sugar diabetic? Sam from Joburg, thanks.
Thanks, Sam. I will also just remind everybody that even though our naked scientist knows pretty much everything about everything, he might not have full jurisdiction over certain things. But a doctor on this one, Glucopro, I don't know if you know that treatment.
I haven't heard of that one. If you ever hear a medical statement and you see the C word, cure, used, always be really skeptical until you've seen the E word, evidence. Because what we practice to practice safely is evidence-based medicine. And if something is worth doing, worth taking, or worth trusting, there will be a strong and secure evidence base to support it. And that evidence base will be in the form of trials, usually what we call randomized controlled trials, which can be blinded, so people don't know if they're getting a placebo or the real thing, for example, and they've been done properly and in a statistically sound way. And if that evidence exists, then you can be sure that someone's worked very hard to make sure they understand the safety and the efficacy of that particular agent. If they can't present that data to you, then it may well be shameless advertising, and that may be nothing more than just a harmless pill or something that may even be harmful. So always ask for the evidence. I'm not familiar with that one, but in the context of diabetes, cure for diabetes is elusive. And although people can treat their diabetes, either if they have type 1 diabetes and sometimes type 2 diabetes with insulin, or with a lot of weight loss and careful diet control in the context of type 2 diabetes, it's very hard to say you've cured something. So if someone tries to tell you they have a cure for anything, always be very skeptical until you've seen the evidence.
And of course, if there were a cure for diabetes, it would be breaking news. I think we also need to remember that at that level, everybody would know about it because so many people deal with diabetes. We've got another question on the WhatsApp line.
Hi, Relebogile and Dr. Chris. I would like to know what is it in your body that makes a psychological event like a heartbreak or a divorce, the death of a family member, cause a physiological response in your body where you can actually feel pain. I mean, that's where the term heartbreak comes from. What's the link between the psychological event and the physiological reaction? Thank you.
Good question. And the answer to this is, of course, the reason we feel anything is because we have a brain. And although I can pinch myself on the elbow and say, ouch, my elbow hurts, the experience is actually being created in my brain and then mapped onto that bit of my body. So when we have psychological distress, it's completely normal that we would expect this to manifest in a whole bunch of places all around the body in a whole bunch of ways because your brain controls everything. Now, when we find something distressing, what is happening is that we have activated a part of the brain that senses fear and alarm called the amygdala. And this is densely connected to the memory circuits in the brain, the limbic system. And so we tend to form a very strong memory of an unpleasant thing happening. And those regions of the brain are also connected to the region called the hypothalamus that controls all of our physiology, your heart rate, your stress levels, your temperature, how active you want to be, how hungry you are, how sleepy and how aroused you are. And so unsurprisingly, you can connect a bad experience to a strong memory and then with these pathways out through the hypothalamus to all of your stress systems and produce symptoms in all of your different tissues. And in some people, if they feel very distressed, they may have diarrhea. In some people, they may have shaking hands and breathlessness and racing heart, all these things are possible, but it's basically a physical manifestation of psychological distress because of the way your nervous system works.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chris Smith. It's going to be a fantastic 2026. Please prepare yourself. I feel like I'm going to be giving you a lot of homework this year.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. I love homework.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chris Smith, the Naked Scientist.
Your voice.
Your life.
Your afternoon radio.
On 702 Afternoons.
With Relebogile Mabotja.
Thank you all for tuning in to 702 Afternoons with me, Relebogile Mabotja. 2026, I'm so confident, is going to be a great year. Let us remain positive, grateful, and continue to engage with one another. John Perlman is up next on 702 Drive from 3 to 6 p.m. And on that note, it's 3 o'clock.
This is EWN.
Body recovered in Vaal River identified as missing teen, and Iran prepared for talks and war over alarming protests. Good afternoon, I'm Maiki Molapo. We begin with news just in. The body of a male found in the Vaal River by police has been positively identified as that of Thomas Stole, a Hoërskool Driehoek pupil who went missing on Friday. Family members identified the body of the 17-year-old after SAPS search and rescue members retrieved the remains from the Vaal River today. Stole was reported missing on Friday after he allegedly went on a boat cruise with friends. Police spokesperson Mavela Masondo.
The body of a male that was found by the police at Vaal River on Monday, the 12th of January, has been identified by a family member as that of Thomas Sitole, who was reported missing at Vanderbilt Park Police Station. The case has been taken over by the police in Sasolburg, Free State Province, for further investigation.
Former President Jacob Zuma and Thabo Mbeki have denied deliberately delaying justice for the families of apartheid-era victims with their looming recusal application. Both former presidents have filed papers before the Commission of Inquiry into the TRC, applying for the recusal of the Commission's chair, retired Justice Sisi Khampepe. The Commission was established by President Cyril Ramaphosa in May to investigate the delays in prosecuting TRC cases. Retired Justice Sisi Khampepe. The Commission was established by President Cyril Ramaphosa in May to investigate the delays in prosecuting TRC cases. Khomotso Modise has more.
The TRC Commission of Inquiry is already months behind in its work, having applied for an extension after it failed to begin hearings last year. It's been dealing with several parallel applications, including the recusal application for the chief evidence leader, Advocate Ishmael Seminya, which was dismissed. Now, the participation of the Commission's chair, Justice Sisi Khampepe, is being questioned by former Presidents Thabo Mbeki and Jacob Zuma, who are both expected to be witnesses. In their papers, both former heads of state argue that Khampepe cannot afford the process the neutrality it deserves, as she was one of the commissioners in the initial Truth and Reconciliation Commission in the 90s, and she was Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions. While Khampepe questions the timing of the applications, pointing out that both Zuma and Mbeki knew about her appointment in May last year, they've hit back, saying they were only served with a Rule 3.3 notice informing them of their implication months afterwards. The recusal application will be heard on Friday. Khomotso Modise, Eyewitness News.
Western Cape Local Government and Environmental Affairs MEC Anton Bredell has commended fire crews who've been battling stubborn fires that left a trail of devastation across the province this past week. Bredell briefed the media at the Incident Command Centre at the Drakenstein Correctional Centre today on the status of the multiple fires experienced in Mossel Bay, Overberg and Cape Winelands district recently. Firefighters in the Overberg district are still battling raging fires in Pearly Beach and Stanford, while the fire in Franschhoek area has been largely contained. About 90,000 hectares have been scorched by at least 10 major wildfires recorded in the province over the past week, with multiple structures destroyed. Bredell says while he's pleased no lives were lost in the fires, it felt like the province was under attack with all the raging fires of the past week across the Cape.
We dealt with 25 fires last Monday alone, and it's big runaway fires. The fire here in Cape Winelands, 17,000 hectares. The Pearly Beach fire was 40,000 hectares, with winds of anything from 40 to 80 kilometers behind it.
More high-profile witnesses, like the head of Crime Intelligence, Lieutenant General Dumsane Khumalo, are expected to give evidence when the Parliament Ad Hoc Committee investigating allegations of police corruption resumes its hearings this week. The committee will resume its business from Wednesday after it concluded the last leg of its hearings in November last year before the Christmas and end-year recess. The resumption of the committee hearings follows the evidence of several witnesses, including KwaZulu-Natal Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, former Minister Bheki Cele, and attempted murder accused businessman Vusimuzi Ket Matlala. Babalo Ndenza has more.
Vusimuzi Ket Matlala was the last witness to give evidence, where he detailed how he allegedly paid former Minister Bheki Cele 500,000 rand and how Cele interfered in police matters on his behalf. The committee had also heard from other witnesses like Minister on Special Leave, Senzo Mchunu, who defended his irregular decision to disband the political killings task team. The committee will now sift through more evidence from witnesses, including former Commissioner Khomotso Phahlane, who will give oral evidence on Wednesday, followed by Lieutenant General Dumsane Khumalo on Thursday. Parliament spokesperson Moloto Mothapo.
Committee work will continue also this week, including the hearings by the Ad Hoc Committee investigating allegations made by Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi.
Meanwhile, forensic investigator Paul O'Sullivan has refused to appear before the committee in person, saying this will make him a target and that he fears for his personal safety. The committee is expected to conclude its inquiry in February, with Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi expected to be the last witness. Babalo Ndenza, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
And in the Middle East, Iran's foreign minister says the Islamic Republic is ready for both war and talks after repeated threats from U.S. President Donald Trump to intervene militarily over a crackdown on protests that activists fear has killed hundreds. Widespread unrest, killings and arrests have taken place during more than 2 weeks of protests in Iran, sparked by a collapse in the local currency. The leadership says that it will listen to demonstrators, but that rioters face the death penalty. In a sign of the severity of the crisis, the authorities have imposed an internet blackout that has now lasted more than 3.5 days and that activists say is aimed at masking the extent of the deadly crackdown. Iran's government has declared 3 days of national mourning for the martyrs killed in the demonstrations, including more than 100 members of security forces. Gold's trading at $4,594.07 an ounce. The rand's at 16.40 to the dollar, at 22.09 to the pound, at 19.16 to the euro. Brent crude oil's at $62.94 a barrel.
In the traffic in the capital city, the slow-moving traffic on Eskiampahlele Drive. This is from Moot Street to Van der Hof. In Proteas Lane, there's bumper-to-bumper traffic on the N12 West from the R554 to the R558.
In your sport, Manchester United to play a 40-game season for the first time in 111 years. AFCON organisers investigate incidents after Algeria versus Nigeria quarter-final clash. And India suffered double blow ahead of the T20 World Cup.
Look at your weather. It's a partly cloudy afternoon in Gauteng today with isolated showers and thunder showers expected. Temperatures are peaking at highs between 26 and 28 degrees. The top story in Eyewitness News this hour. The body of a male found in the Vaal River by police has been positively identified as that of Thomas Sitole, a Hoërskool Driehoek pupil who went missing on Friday.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app, DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
.702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman is proudly brought to you by Telkom Business. Possibility begins here. Good afternoon, everyone. It's 8 minutes past 3 on Monday, the 12th of January. This is 702 Drive with me, John Perlman. Wherever you are listening to us in 702 land, welcome to the show. Hope you had a great weekend. Did you? Hope the new week is off to a good start. Is it? Let us know. As parents gear up for the start of a new school year, many questions are being asked about the cost of uniforms, stationery and books. The Competition Commission has been looking for answers. Senior analyst Sithabiso Buthelezi joins us to share insights after 5. In other stories, we'll get behind the story of another hijacked property in Bryanston with News 24 journalist Alex Patrick. What's behind the flood of counterfeit goods into the country, and what can be done to stem the flow? Colonel Amanda van Niekerk from SAPS joins us at 10 to 4. I think they've just confiscated about 350 million rand worth of goods like that. And after 4, we'll talk to some outstanding matriculants about what it takes to rack up lots and lots of distinctions and what they plan to do next. Looking forward to that. On the markets, the All Shares off to an excellent start this week, up by 1,400 points. As is often the case, resources are leading the way with that index up by 4.27%. That's reflected in the price of specific shares. Northam is up by 6.4, Harmony by 6.2, Implats by 6.1. African Rainbow Minerals, there seems to be a pot of gold at the end of that particular rainbow, up by 5%. Rand taking advantage of dollar weakness, currently trading at 16.41 to the US currency. A euro will set you back 19 Rand 18 cents. 22 Rand 11 will get you a pound. The oil price, Brent crude, is up by 10 cents, currently for sale at $63.02 a barrel. Stephen Curtis joining us with all the market news at 25 past 4. Sport with Tola Kele Mganga, you heard her a moment ago. Maki Molapo, you also heard a moment ago, with us with the very latest news headlines. That's at 3:30, and we've got Khumotso Munyai keeping an eye on things out on the roads. This is 702 Drive. We're live in the place where you live. If it's happening in 702 land, we'll do our best to bring you that news as soon as we can, as accurately as we can. But of course, if you see something first or see something that maybe calls into question the way we've understood things, well, do get in touch. 072 702 1702 or ring if you want to chat on the phone 011 883 0702. It's 11 minutes past 3.
702.
Let's walk the talk.
As always, we've got lots to talk about, lots to inquire about, lots to think about. Some thoughts include those rather random thoughts that pop into your head. This one, I must say, is not particularly random. It is very much of the time. I thought I'd wait till this week, because last week I was dying to ask all of you, have you got something special lined up for this year? Something special that's going to be happening to you or to someone close to you? And then I thought I'd wait for one more week, because more of you are back from work, more of you are tuning in to 702. So is there a special date or dates on your calendar? Maybe it's not a date, but it's a thing that's happening. What am I thinking about? It might be a wedding, yours or someone else's. It might be a new job that you're about to start or you've already started. Maybe you're moving into a new home. Maybe you're moving into a home where you're moving in with someone you didn't live with before and you've got optimism about that. Could be a new car. It might be your graduation, your first trip overseas, or it doesn't even have to be overseas. It could just be a place that's been on your bucket or wish list for a long time. Maybe you're running your first Comrades Marathon. Maybe you're running your 10th Comrades Marathon. Maybe you've decided not to run Comrades Marathons anymore, and that feels significant to you. How about having a book published or a song released? Who knows what's out there? Opening a new restaurant, maybe. So, something